Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening. Welcome to 2024 elections. My vote, my choice. It's a show that we bring to you every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday here on Hilaal TV ahead of this year's general elections. We are moving closer to it, just over 3 weeks to go before that hotly anticipated polls. Now, this is an election, and given the fruits of our democracy, where we have independent candidates. And today, we've invited an independent candidate to our studio to talk about his aims and ambitions ahead of this year's elections. His name is Blessings Ramoba, and he is also the leader of the Workers' Rights Party. Now, the party is dedicated to the values of education, empowerment, inclusive governance, and placing at the forefront the positive transformation. They've listed a whole number of their missions and aims, which is, of course, available on their website. But we are going to be talking about that in a bit. Let me welcome Blessings into our studio. Blessings, thank you so much for joining us. Good evening.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and greetings to you and to your viewers.
So it's an absolute pleasure. So you're, of course, our first independent candidate that we've brought in. This is not the first time it's going to be happening in elections.
Yeah.
Of course, it did happen during the local government elections, but this is going to be on a national scale. As an independent candidate, how confident are you going against the powerhouses of the bigger parties?
Correct. I can tell you, this is the first time since the democracy started in 1994. It's been 30 years, and it will be for the first time an independent candidate contesting for elections. We are actually making history, but more importantly, we are testing democracy to see if it works. Yes, my name is Blessings Ramoba, and my background is much more into mining sector. I've been an activist in the mining sector for the past 10 years now. But in terms of my activism, started when I was still at the University of Johannesburg, studying mining engineering there, and that's where I started my activism, and as a mining student and student leader also. Just like every graduate, I went to the mining sector and worked there. But I realized that there were a lot of things that needs to be done, especially when coming to the laws and regulations, and also making sure that the oversight in the mining sector I saw that is not done properly. I then founded an organization called the Mining Forum of South Africa, which was to look in terms of social responsibilities of these mining companies, where they operate, especially the mining communities, empowering small businesses where they operate. And we have done that successfully, working with the Department of Minerals. Where they could listen to us, they did. And but I can tell you, in many instances, they were not listening to us. That's why we then, realized that, you can become a lobby group or an activist. Really, politicians always look for themselves. They really do not care about
So you, as an
people on the
independent
ground.
candidate, are you going in as the politician mindset or the activist mindset?
No, I'm going as a community leader.
Right.
I'm much more based into, oriented in terms of solutions of the community. But I can tell you, it's not only that which we look at. I'm also the president of Employment Rights Party, which
Talk to us about that party, because
we actually founded it this year. It's registered with the IEC, but we realized that it was very late to actually, introduce it to the people. We said, okay, let's go as an independent candidate. But in terms of our objectives of the organization, is to actually to champion policies that can create employment for our people. Right now, South Africans, about 7.8 million people are looking for employment. We are talking about 18 million people who are currently dependent on social grants out of 62 million people. That can tell you that we are actually sitting, we have got a problem. I can tell you, we have got a crisis. And I think that the ANC has lost its moral compass in terms of coming up with solutions that which can actually turn out, to be, solutions for this country. I think that they do not have a plan to actually, bring about employment and also to grow the economy. We've got a lot of problems, but that needs us as citizens of this country to actually stand up and get involved. You can get involved as a citizen through voting and also as an activist, and to try to correct this mess that is created by the current government.
Yeah. And let's, of course, talk about the current government. 30 years in power. You've come from the mining industry. I want to touch on that a bit because, of course, you've got a opposition party calling for the nationalization of mines. Does that work in the
It
current
doesn't
economy?
work. I'm against that. Why? Because, I tell people, who do not understand mining, I say mining is not about having a hole there that which you dig and start extracting. You have to develop, the roads, the infrastructure there. Before you can actually operate a mine, you can spend about R1 billion or 2 billion rand. And that money itself is being borrowed somewhere else, meaning these entrepreneurs, or they go to the bank, they borrow the money. So it becomes a property of someone. So we don't want to tamper with the property rights. What we can do, let's collect enough taxes from the mining companies. I can tell you today, the mining companies, some of them, they don't pay tax. They evade paying tax through tax illicit outflows. If we put up mechanism to make sure that we collect enough taxes from these mining companies. But not only that, look currently in terms of the ownership of these mining companies. Mining companies are forced by law to have about 26% of black ownership in terms of that is through the mining charter or the Mineral Petroleum Resource Development Act, which is in place, meaning that for every mining company it must have about 26% for it to be given what you call a license. On top of that, they've got about what you call, on top of that 26%, there is a 7%, which is a royalty where they operate by the community, by the traditional authorities in that particular areas. On top of that, they also have got taxes that which they have to pay, corporate tax. So if you look at it, it is going to about 45% that which they contribute towards the economy. And now when you nationalize, what you are saying is that you are taking control of those mining houses and you are threatening investment. And we want a free market. I'm championing for free market. I'm not for these socialist ideas like expropriation of land without compensation. There is a way that which we can do it without disrupting our economy. Look at Zimbabwe. They had a very beautiful country. They destroyed it, and it was destroyed by leaders like Mugabe, who came up with this mental crazy ideas, outdated policies of, having to. Let me tell you something. Today, Zimbabwe is suffering. Everyone has left the country. And I can tell it's because of the sanctions. And that's the same thing that which will happen to us. Should we tamper with the property rights, we are going to be sanctioned. And that's why I'm against what you call the idea. I can tell you, we can do private, government partnerships where we can, but also we must put, funding, so that the private sector comes with funding. We do have private, government partnerships throughout the economy in other sectors. We can actually replicate the same. But we must not actually tamper with the property rights.
I have to stop you there because I have to talk about, obviously, the workers. The land issue is something we can always touch on another day. Workers' Rights Party, one would assume that, of course, is associated with the current labor force within the country, which is being affected quite badly.
Correct.
32.1% unemployment. It could be even more. This is, of course, the stats I'm quoting from Stats South Africa. How does Blessings Ramoba and the Workers' Rights Party solve the unemployment rate should you ascend to the union buildings?
First of all, you cannot create employment with the current status of load shedding. We need to deal with the load shedding. No country has ever made it without a source of power. I can tell you, right now we're competing with the rest of the world and they're industrializing. The fourth industrial revolution is here. But I can tell you, you cannot actually compete if you have got what you call load shedding and you do not have available source of power. And we need to make sure that we deal with that. And how are we going to do that? I can tell you the ANC has got a policy now of closing down the power stations, the coal power stations. Whereas we are busy right now taking our coal outside the country. The demand of coal overseas has increased, meaning that we are busy closing down. I can tell you about one example of a power station which was decommissioned, which is Komati. It employed about 6,000 people that which were working in that power station. Today they are on the street and they do not have any employment. And I can tell you this: we need a mixed energy. We need the solar. We need the nuclear to be brought to the table, and other source of of energy like solar and wind. But let's not destroy the source of power which we currently have, which is the coal, which we have abandoned, which can actually take us to another 50 years to power us, and so that we are able to have available source of energy. And that's one of the things that which we are going to solve. That's number one. Number two, we industrialize. Now, I'm in the mining sector myself, and I always sing this song to say, let's start beneficiating our minerals in the country. Let's come up with a policy to say it's a must for every company to actually beneficiate 50% of their minerals here. I'm not talking about nationalization. What I'm just saying is beneficiate your minerals here, so that you're able to create employment for our people, and also to create products here. Because once you start beneficiating, then we are going to turn your product into secondary, tertiary, and so on. So up until it reaches to the market. And what is good about it is that you will end up even to export a lot of goods or products to the rest of the world. Then you see, that's how you are creating activities in the economy, and you are able to grow this economy. We need to start, we are consuming everything. We are not producing anything. Let's start to be a country that which does manufacturing, and also beneficiation, and industrialize, create machines, and also have cars here. We've got the minerals to do that, the PGMs, the platinum group metals. If we are able to industrialize, we will win.
I have to stop you there, and we'll of course continue conversation after the break.
Okay.
We're going to be touching, of course, the role of independence in this election, how it's going to be from a constituency perspective, and of course their chances competing both on provincial and national. Do stay tuned to 2024 elections. Welcome back to 2024 elections. My vote, my choice. This is a show we coming to you every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday here on Hilaal TV channel 347. Blessings, independent candidates. How's the campaigning gone? Because I always like to bring the sport terms. You the complete outsider in all of this. So how is the campaigning be, given that we are now in a new situation where independent candidates are now competing for the ballot box?
When you enter the world of politics, then you'll understand that resources is everything. It's about money. It's the game of the money. The bigger the money you have, also the higher the chances, you stand to actually, be elected. Because it's about how far you can reach in the country. For myself, I'm in the province of Gauteng and Limpopo. Those are two provinces that I'm gonna be appearing on the ballot. But still a lot, even though you can try to print, the placards and but the good thing about it is that I think the media has been very fair with us, and for that we give them a thumb. I mean, really, they're doing very, very well to actually balance between the independent and candidates and also the parties. But I can tell you that for a person to actually reach as an independent candidate, to reach a lot of people, the resources are not there, which is about money. And should I had a lot of money, I think I would have reached a lot of people. But with the little that which I have, I'm able to to put the force and impact that which I can. But in terms of my campaign, is doing very, very well. On social media, we are also there, and also we do door-to-door traditional way of campaigning, both in the province of Gauteng and Limpopo. But I can tell you the challenge is resources.
Blessings, I'm going to list obviously some of the missions that you have: education, job opportunities, gender equality, women's empowerment, social welfare, healthcare, infrastructure, digital connectivity, labor rights, fair wages, transparency, accountability, inclusivity, social justice, youth engagement and empowerment, environmental protection and sustainable development, innovation, entrepreneurship. These are some of the missions that you have.
Correct.
I mean, should you ascend to the union buildings or ascend to one of the legislatures and replace Stan Matapata in Limpopo, or
I will be. I'm vying for parliament.
Oh, there you go. You're vying for parliament.
Yeah.
So if you're vying for parliament, if you're vying for the provincial legislature, whichever it may be,
Yeah.
Which one of these are your short-term and which one of these are your long-term solutions in trying to fix the country?
Look, I think jobs is a priority. South Africans many of our people are suffering. You realize as you go through the campaign, you go to deep villages of Limpopo, you go deep villages, everywhere. You realize the poverty levels is very, very high, which is justified by the levels, I mean, by social grants, the number of people that which are getting social grants. It tells you that, the ANC is trying to avert, a revolution which they want, they don't want it to happen, because people are going to stand up and, and fight. And I can tell you, if we are able to provide an employment for every home to have a job, at least one person to be employed, because we know in the South African context, about one person is feeding about 7 to 8 people in a community. So if we are able to actually prioritize policies that which are able to create employment for our people. I mean, we have got graduates, I can tell you, who graduated a long time ago, and they've been suffering without employment, and we see it's also affecting the social, the social ills of the society, the drug abuse amongst young people, crime also is rife. I mean, it's very, you can't even walk at night, or, even during the day you are scared always, because it's not even safe. People are suffering and they are taking any shortcuts which they can. So the first thing that I will deal with is to make sure that we create policies and make sure that we create employment for our people. That, I think, is the first priority that we are going to do. Every home must have a job, and must have a person that which has got a job. And that's a way that we are going to eradicate poverty levels in South Africa.
Of course, the standings of independent candidates, as we mentioned, is going to be tested in this democracy. As an independent candidate, how hopeful are you that there's a sustainability with regards to, you being an independent candidate in this elections? Because you've mentioned funding becomes a very big question with regards to that. I mean, when you look at the traditional parties within South Africa, they've got their funding sorted, however it may be. So, as an independent candidate, how do you lobby for that funding in order to make sure that you can keep your campaign going and still appeal to your constituency?
It's about donations. You just go around asking for donations, and that's how basically, keeps the campaign going. You just go around asking for donations. But I can tell you, as an independent candidate, I think we have got a role to play.
Yes.
And I think also in future, South Africans should be able to select their own president from independent candidates, to actually have power to to put together a government and to be able to lead their country. But at the moment is only one seat. But not to say that is useless. It's not useless. There are many parties which have been elected before, which have been in parliament with only one seat. But the drive that they put and the challenge in parliament, to these parties, to make them to account to certain issues is important. And that's why you need a different voice, so that you are able to influence policy and enforce policy, so that there's implementation. In this country, we've got, sometimes I can tell you, we do have some good laws on regulations that which are been put forward and are in place, but there's no enforcement. But I think that for the fact that we are in parliament, or we will be in parliament, we will be able to voice out, to be able to force, to say, let's see implementation on this. And that's accountability and oversight that which you are going to play there, without having to go according to party line or anything. As an independent, I take decision independently, so to be able to push policies and also to be able to make these political parties to account. And that's what is important. And speak issues that which are affecting South Africans on the ground. I can tell you where I come from. I'm from the deep villages of Limpopo. I grew up in the deep villages of Limpopo there. I started school there. I did matric there. I passed matric there. You know, and I can tell you, the community still do not have water. Water's just
But do you think that's a problem
basic.
with accountability, and how
Yeah,
does the independent candidates fix that? Because what I've been seeing from, of course, the parties that run the municipalities within, especially in Limpopo, and
yeah,
Limpopo is one such incident. There's so many others where basic humanities, as per the Bill of the Rights, are not being met.
correct.
How does accountability now come into the frame, and how do independent candidates, because if there's one thing about the independent candidates is that they can speak directly to the constituency,
Correct.
whereas the parties,
Do
there's no
not,
real communication.
yeah.
So is that something where the independent candidates have maybe an up on the traditional
Of course,
parties?
I
Yeah.
engage with people directly. I mean, I can tell you right now, if you go to my socials, the number that is there on my social media, you're talking to me directly. So meaning that, you know, I'm actually elected by the community. That's my constituency. And I'm accountable to my constituency directly. So I think that, you know, that also will make them to understand that they've been fooled by many political parties. And it's time that, you know, things change, and they have to also change their mind in terms of when they vote to say we've been fooled. And that's one of the things that which when we go to these communities, we explain to them, you know, that we need to see change and vote for us, so that we're able to be there as community leaders in parliament, to be able to, you know, to lead and also challenge issues, and also talk about accountability, talk about oversight. If I see that certain things are not done right in a certain community, I will just speak there to say there is a community that do not have water. Then they will go and fix the issue of the water issue in that particular community. And I think that is very, very important. I mean, I can tell you this: the ANC has been having, you know, people. I mean, they've been voted, getting about majority in parliament, but you only see 2 people speaking for the entire 5 years, right, in parliament. And the rest, they just keep quiet. They just sit there, you know, and just watch what is happening. They never. So we don't need that. We need, you know, a new challenge, so that we're able to make them account, to say no. It's time that we work, and South Africans want service delivery, and that's what we have to do.
I always ask, obviously, the political parties or independents coming. So our channel here at Hilaal TV is predominantly an Islamic channel.
Yeah.
Caters to the Muslim voters, but also many non-Muslims also watch us. So, I mean, your message, if you're trying to sell yourself as an independent candidate to the Muslim community,
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say in just a minute?
For me, I respect democracy, and I respect everyone. You have heard me talking about respect of property rights. So everyone is equal before the law. Black, white, Indian, colored, anyone. Everyone is equal before the law. That's basically one of my values, right? And I respect everyone regarding that. And one of the things that which I know about Muslims is that they love their religion. What we need to do is that we need to respect each and every person in terms of what they believe and whom they love. I'm not one person that you know, talk about issues that which they will affect their other people or offense other people. We need to sustain this democracy, respect each other, and you know, and build this country. Um, I think all of us can actually make this country successful. But we need to respect each other as a people, and also respect each other as religion, respect each other whosoever wants to be and define themselves the way they want to be. And I'm for democracy, and those are my values. That if I fight for issues that which are affecting South Africans, I'm not looking at a certain demographics, but I'm looking at issues that are affecting everyone, and that's what actually, you know, speaks to me, and that's who I am. I'm all about defending democracy and making sure that, you know, we serve our people regardless of the color of skin.
Blessings, unfortunately, time is up. All the best ahead of the elections. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
on
you very
Hilaal
much.
TV.
Thank you.
That's Blessings Ramoba, independent candidate and the Workers' Rights Party leader. That's all we have for you here on 2024 elections. We'll be back again tomorrow. From myself, Ross Patel, and the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.